We look at this video on reference angles. Thank you for joining me. I am Mr. Ish. Hope everyone is having a good evening today. Reference angles is among the most important shortcuts when it comes to trigonometry because it enables you to determine the variety of trigonometric values of a given angle by means of these angles with respect to a reference horizontal line. If you have an x and y axis, your reference horizontal lines are 0 degrees and 180 degrees. If you make a specific angle, you can use either of these, 0 or 180 with reference to that. You can even add in a 360. For an angle in the fourth quadrant, you can use 360 as a reference horizontal, or you can use 0. It doesn't matter. But reference angles enable you to determine trigonometric values for a specific angle with regards to this horizontal. To take the most benefit from this concept of reference angles, you need to remember some of these trigonometric ratios. One of those has to do with a 30, 60, and a 90 degree angle. A 30 degree angle always opposes a side with a value of 1 or a ratio of 1. 60 opposes a root 3 and 90 opposes a 2. And you can use this very well to your advantage. Another one is to do with the isosceles right triangle, where you have a 45, 45, and a 90. The 45 and the 45 oppose sides with a ratio value of 1, and the 90 opposes it with root 2. You can easily derive these using a square plus b square is equal to c square. You can do this square plus this square and equal to that square. Likewise, these two squares summed will equal to that squared. So you have this, and this is something you need to remember when you're looking at reference angles. We look at two important questions in this video. Let's look at this first question with part A. Find sine of angle 240. You know, you start with an xy plot. You look at 240, you're always going in a counterclockwise direction with positive angles. You know that's going to put you here in the third quadrant. You have a 240, you draw it out. With regards to a reference angle, you have to determine that. You know everything is based here with regards to these horizontal ones, 0 or 180, even 360. Since you're over here, you're going to do a reference with 180. You'll do 240 minus 180 and that'll give you a value of a 60. You can make a little vertical line here and make this into a right triangle. Now all of a sudden you have right here a 60 degree, a 30 degree, and a 90 degree triangle. That's what we've determined from here. We have a 60, 30, and a 90. It's not drawn to scale. If we have to find the sine 240, we know 60 opposes a root 3. 30 opposes a 1 and 90 opposes a 2. Sine of 60 is the same thing as sine of 240, and that's always opposite over hypotenuse with regards to your reference angle. The reference angle is right here. We're looking here opposite to a root 3, and here we're looking at a 2. So you know sine 240 is going to be a root 3 over 2, but better yet, you're in this third quadrant where values of sine and cosine are always negative, so your answer is going to be negative root 3 over 2, and it would be right. Let's look at this tan 135, which is part number B of this question. Draw 135 degrees. You're looking here in the second quadrant. Here's my 135. Your reference again is 180 degrees. Just do 180 minus 135. That gives you a 45 degree reference angle. Make a little right triangle. We're looking at a 45 here, 45 here, and a 90. You know the 45 always oppose a 1 and a 90 opposes a 2. So tan 135 is the same thing as saying tan 45, but in the second quadrant. In the second quadrant, cosine is always negative, sine is always positive, but tan is always equal to opposite or adjacent. It's going to be equal to 1 divided by minus 1, and your value should be minus 1. You can do tan of 135, that's the same thing as tan of 45 in the second quadrant, and the value should be minus 1, and this answer will be right. For the last question of this, we'll be looking at two parts. We have to find secant of angle 300. First, draw this x and y plane and draw a 300 degree angle. You're going to take yourself into the fourth quadrant. Here's your 300 degree angle from right over here going all the way up to this point. And that gives you a reference angle here with regards to the 0 or 360. You can do 360 minus 300, you get a 60 degree reference angle. You can redraw this triangle out exactly as you see it. You have a 60 here, that means you have a 30 here, and you have a 90 here. In the fourth quadrant, sine is negative, cosine is positive. 60 degree opposes a root 3, 30 opposes a 1, and 90 opposes a 2. Secant definition is 1 over cosine, which is the reciprocal of cosine. Just do cosine of 60 degrees, which is equal to cosine of 300 degrees, and you can flip your answer around. In the fourth quadrant, cosine should be positive. Cosine is always equal to adjacent or hypotenuse. It's going to be equal to 1 over 2, which will give you a value of 2, and that answer should be good. It should be positive because cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant. Granted, these questions can be a little tricky, but with practice they become easy. Cotangent is looking at cosine over sine, and we're talking about minus 315, so you're going to move. When you're talking about minus, you move in a clockwise direction. You'll move minus 315, it's going to put you right over here. When you do 360 plus minus 315, because your reference horizontal here is 0 or 360, you can just do 360 plus minus 315, you'll get an angle here of 45. Your reference angle is 45 in the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, sine, cosine, tangent, all 6 trigonometric functions are positive. You're looking at a 45, 45 and a 90 degree triangle. That means you have a 1, 1, root 2. So cotan minus 315 is the same thing as cotan 45 in the first quadrant. All you have to do is cotangent of 45, and that will be cosine 45 divided by sine 45, or you can just say adjacent or opposite, which is 1 over 1, and your answer should be 1. This cosine 45 you could say as 1 over root 2 divided by 1 over root 2, both of which cancel on, you get that 1. So 1 will be the good answer here, and it should be positive answer because everything lands here in the first quadrant. And this brings us to the conclusion of this video. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Have a nice day.